Hi friends, welcome to tutorials. In this video, you are going to learn CRUD operation, that is insert, update, delete using Angular in the front end and Django framework in the back end. I have already created this REST API using Python framework and SQLite. So if you want to check that, then you go to my channel and then go here, Angular 12.13 tutorial. And here I have created one REST API. So this one is this one. Here you can check this video. Okay. So in this video I have shown how you can create a REST API using Python's Django framework and SQLite. And in this video we will do CRUD operation or insert, update, delete in the front end using Angular. So let's go here, and here is my REST API of Django. So I will write here manage.py run server. Okay, so server has successfully started. So I would recommend you to check this video first at how you can create REST API using Django framework. Then you come to this video. Now, if you open here, you can see saying that it has this route. So let's open here and then users. Okay, so this is you can see I've already added 3 users here. So we will fetch this JSON format API into our Angular application. So now let's do one thing. Let's open here your command prompt. In my case, I'm opening this, and in tree drive I cd Angular class, then ng new Django Angular. So now I am starting a new project. Yes, and now cd this CLS. Now let's create a few components like nggc add users, then list users, then edit users, and we need to create one service ngg service then data, and let's create one model ngg interface users. Okay, so that's it. Now let's go to Visual Studio Code and open the project. So open folder and then D drive, Angular class, then Django Angular. Okay, so we have created a component. You can see all the components are visible here. So now let's go to Bootstrap CDN website and let's import simply copy from here and then let's paste into index.html here. Before closing the head tag, let's close now, and first we will display a list of the users here. So for that we need to go here service file. So let's write here const API URL equals to, so this is our base URL. Okay, we don't need actually class, it's a class member, that's why we don't need to put here const, which will be simply API URL. This is the base URL. Okay, and here we need to call HTTP private HTTP private HTTP, then HTTP client, and here HTTP client we need to call here import HTTP client, and then let's copy here double required actually. Okay. Now let's write here one list users, a function here where we will write return http dot http, then get, and here we need to pass the URL, this API URL. So since this is the base URL, so we don't need to append anything. List users, let's make it capital. Here we will write users, the interface, the model that we have created is users, so automatically it goes imported here, and then here this dot is, that's it. Now let's go to this file list component.js. Here we will import data service from this service, and then here private data service, and then let's create a function list user, or we can directly write the code here also, this dot data service dot list users dot subscribe, and then here data here, and then this dot users equals to data, and this we need to call from users. Users in, and here in search. So now if we open this into the browser, you can see this interface. Okay, so what we need to do, let's go to app component here, and here before that let's go to routing component, app routing here. So it's already routes here, then so we write here list users, then list users list user component. Okay, in app module it's already called here list user component in app routing module. And one more thing that we need to import here, import HTTP client module, and we need to import it here as well. And in app component of HTML, app component of HTML, where is that? Let's delete everything, and we will write here router outlet, and here we will write list users. Okay. Then if you control shift I, that means if you want to check here in console, then you can see we have 3 users list here. Because if you go here, then what we have done, probably we need this, but not required. Then list users component, just type here console.log. So what is happening here? First we created the service, and this is the basic API URL, and through this HTTP method we are fetching the data from our Django framework, Django REST API. Okay? And after this, it is returning. We are calling this method here. We are subscribing here this method, and data. Ultimately, the data is fetched in this data, and we are assigning this data into this variable. And finally, we will call this variable into the HTML file here, the list. So let's delete everything, and let's write here div and div. So whether I will write here table, okay? Table, then the head inside this th. So what are the fields? The fields are name and name, email, phone, address. Name, email, phone, address. So these are name, email, phone, address. Right here T body, and inside this TR, and then TD. And of course here will be one more field, TH actions. So here we will write star ng4 equals to let user of users. Oh, this will not required. That's it. So in here we will display the name of the fields, user dot name. So let's see if the name is showing or not. Let's put it here double curly braces. Let's refresh. And yes, Rajesh, whatever the name is coming here. So here class container. Okay, I'm starting div here, div here, and then class table. Remember, these are bootstrap class. Okay. Yes, so now it's looking right here. So email here, email, phone, and address. Email, phone, and address. Now let's see here. Yes, the complete data is coming here. So whatever data is here, you can see. So now if I add one more, say Kareem, Kareem. So if we add from here, just click on post. So one new record is added. So you can refresh, and then you can see the new recording displayed here. So guys, as you can see, it's a very simple to fetch the data from Django REST API and display it into your Angular application. Now inside action here, we will provide here delete and update or edit button. Okay, let's go here. We will add one route, say edit slash id, and here edit component, and here let's click equals to, then here delete user, and then here we will pass user. That's it. We will pass here user. Okay. So we are getting this error because we need to create this function here. So for the time being, let's keep it, and here we need to the parameter user any. Better, let's pass here user.id. Okay. So here in this. Now we need to once again create one service for deleting here. So we will write here del user, then we need to pass here parameter. Okay. So we will pass here id any, because we will pass the id based on that record will be deleted. So now let's copy this. Here the method will be delete. Okay. And here we need to write plus, then plus this id. We will pass it. Now let's get back here. So this dot data service dot delete user dot subscribe del user, and here we will pass here id, then actually let's name it id. Okay, that's why it's saying that subscribe, then here data, and here subscribe. Okay, this is not required, and here we will write this dot users filter you any. So accept this id, rest of the list it will display. Okay. So now, so often I have seen students get confused that why so many things. Let me explain you. If you check on the top, so what is this? Data is assigning into the users, right? So here this one is well. So this dot users, so it is filtering the ID, which has been just deleted. And apart from that, rest of the things will be assigned here. Okay. Now let's go here and try to delete any of the records. Say this array. Okay, so we're getting here error. It is saying 404. So we need to check here. Going into the REST API data. That means this will be not required because we have already put here forward slash. So this ID, then forward slash. Let's try now. Okay, it's deleted now. That's what I was saying. But it's not refreshing, right? It should refresh the data. It's deleted once again, but it is working. But we need to refresh it. So let's change the code here. Not here actually. Here list users. Okay, let's do one thing. Fetch. Let's create function users. Okay. And here let's put everything, whatever is here, inside this function, right? And we will call this function rather here this dot fetch users. Okay, and then we will call the same function here as well. This is one of the most easiest way to filter the data. Okay. Now let's go here and try to delete this. Go here and try to delete it. You can see it is completely deleted. Let's go once again here, REST API. Let's create one more. Just create a one data and here nourish number address post. So now we have two records. So here as well we can see two records. If I click on delete, data is deleted. If I click, data is deleted. So so far we have worked on add new user, display the users and delete the users. Now we will work on add new users from Angular, because so far we are adding the users through Django REST API, which is not good. This is for just testing purpose, but in actual the user will be adding the data from user side, not from backend. Okay. So now let's work on adding the new. And in this section you will know how to add a new user. Okay, here you will know how to add new user. In previous section you have already seen that how you can display the data from this Django framework in the backend to Angular, and also how you can delete the report from Angular application to Django REST API. And in this section you will know how to add new record or new user from Angular to Django REST API. So let's start this section. Now let's come to this add user section. So here in HTML, start here div, class container. Here I'm taking table so that I can make it faster actually. Class table here and th not th actually, let's start like this, tr then td. So I'll write here name and then input type equals to text name form control name equals to name. We are going to use reactive form. Okay, that's why I'm using here form control name here. Form control name. So we are going to use here reactive form. That's why. So now let's go to this routing section. There is a routing module. So this time it will be here add user, and the component will be add user component. That's it. So now let's copy this first name, email, and mobile number and address. So this will be email, input type email, form control name email, then here mobile, and here as well mobile number, and here address. So we can write here text area, or just keep it so address. Okay, and here as well address. And finally, we need here for span 2 2 and here input type submit name equals to submit and value equals to add new user. Okay, now let's check into the browser. Here, let's write here add user. Okay, so this is our form. Okay, here tr and here td call span 2 and here add new user. So let's keep it h1 tag so that it will be bigger. Here class text center, which is bootstrap class. In here as well class form control. This is bootstrap class. And in this button class btn success. Now let's check. Yes, so this is our text field and this is your form. Let's do one thing. Here class table. Let's go to style.css and here this is style because of this component, right? Table width 70% and margin auto. Yeah, now it's fine. So now it's in center, text center. So I don't know why the button color is like this. Let's do one thing. Dot btn color yellow. Not color to background color. To be color will be black. Background color. Let's keep it yellow. And then didn't work. Let's remove a just button. Okay, Anyway, so when we will click on this, the data will be added here. For that, we need to add here form. Okay, so there will be form, then so it will be form, then form group, and then we will create an alias called ang form, and then post data. This function we will create in this HTTPS file, an autocomplete or that means default HTML autocomplete will be made off. Okay, so now here form group. So when it will be submitted, then we require a function here, and yes, for this form group we need to first let's create this function into this component here, post data, and here we need to create a form group here, ng form, then form group, and automatically as you can see the form group is on here, and here private fb form builder. For reactive form, this one is required here. Here will be ang form dot fb here. This equals to fb group, and then here this one. Inside this we will write our form control name. So it will be name, then initial value blank, then validators required. Okay, so validators will call from here. So we have fields like name, and then email, name, email, and then mobile. I'm not focusing on validation. If you want to check the Angular form validation, I have separate video in this series. So my main focus here is to how to instead of to delete the data from Angular to Django framework REST API. Address, that's it. Now here we need to, and yes, before this let's create one more service for adding the data here. Just let's copy this and then add user for adding user, and then here we can name it whatever we like. So simply we write it data, and then let's remove from here everything, and then data, then any, and here rather than delete it will be post. Okay, we are getting this error because it says that in interface we have not provided any argument here. Let's go to our interface that we had created in the beginning. So that users, right? So we can write here name, then string, after name, email, string, mobile, string, and then address, string. That's it. We are just defining the data here and recording. Check it. here we need to pass this data, right? Whatever data the post body will come, it will be passed along with this. Now let's get back here once again to this component here. So we'll write here, but we are still getting this error. Okay, we are getting this error. It said can't bind to form group since it's not property of form. Okay, so let's do one thing. Let's go to here, app module, and then let's call here import reactive forms module. Then let's import this here in import section. Let's close this now. So let's take a look at here. And yes, we have to pass here the parameter. That's why we are getting here error here. So this dot, we need to call here service as well, right? So import data service. From the service here as well, we need to call this private data service, then data service. This will be smaller case, and that's it. So here this dot data service dot add user. Then here this we will pass this data right inside add user. Then subscribe. And then actually here we will pass this dot ang form dot value. And then subscribe here. And then we will redirect to the user page. So route, we need to import here inside dependency injection. Where is that? Here. Route, then router. Okay. So this root we are calling here. Okay, before that we need to write here private here as well. So we have inside constructor we have constructor form builder, and then this, and then this. Now let's try to add the record and see what happens. Cannot find control with address. So there is triple address. This is double AWD. I think there is mistake here. It's 3D. That's right. Now let's add here gmail.com mobile. Then this address to network. Try to add here. Okay, it says 400. That means there is an error. This field is required the phone number, right? So we are not passing here. It's not mobile actually, it's phone. So phone. Let's try again. Add new user. Yes, successfully the new user is added here, as you can see. So guys, as you can see, it's really very easy to perform add, update, delete, that is CRUD operation using Angular in the frontend and in the backend Django, Python Django REST API. So that's it in this section, and the next section we will work on edit part of this application. Guys, it's not working, but in the list section, list here, list table, btn class btn bt success or danger rather. And before this edit, we can write here class btn success. This one is for delete and this edit. So delete is already working as you have seen. So now when we will click on this edit, then as you can see this component is opening here with edit words, but the forms are opening here filled with the data, and then when we update the record, this will go to for updating. So now let's work on edit parts. So in edit part, it will be almost similar to not just almost similar to add part. So here in edit user, you just copy everything here. Let's change here edit user, right here edit, and also edit user here. That's it in this one. And now let's go to this component file. Let's copy everything from here to this part. And then let's replace this. Now need to import this the top computer also top data service this service router this router, and then validators. That's everything enough imported here, and we will change here. Here we will write edit user. Edit user. So we will create this function here. And this one will be input small e edit user here as well. And yes, before that we need to get single user here, okay, for updating. So we write here get single user, and then we will pass the ID from there and this ID, and here the method will be get. Why? Because first we need to fill up the data and then only we will update, right? So for that we need to fetch the data from here, get single user, okay. From this we will return, we will get single user based on the ID. Now go here once again, and here we need to and only we need, and to fetch this ID we need to write code here, and then here activated routes for this to getting ID. We need to import this activate route to fetch this ID, this ID. And now here we will write to get this ID, we will write this dot activated dot params dot subscribe. Inside this param ID, then so we are getting here. Let's do one thing. Let's write this param app. Okay, and then here we will write this dot id param id, that means this one, and then get id. So now we will have, if you want to check here, console.log, then you can see the id here, this dot id, when the page loads. Okay, so let's go to the list here, and when you click on this edit, then you can see this id 8 is displaying here, this id here. Now here we will call this function, this dot data service dot get single user, then this dot id dot subscribe, then here this dot png form dot patch value, and here this data. So now let's check, and yes, when you see the data is coming filled with this, you don't need to do anything, simply the data is coming with. So how this is working? First we are fetching the id, and then we are passing the id here, and in this function it is going here this id, and based on the id the API is fetching the data from Django framework and returning it to this function that is observable, and then it's coming back to here, and this is patching the value with this uh, form. So that is the power of reactive forms. You don't have to show here value. Automatically it detects and attaches its respective value. So let's try by adding one more user here. Add user new, new address, and here successfully added. If you click on edit, then you can see the data is coming filled with this, and the ID is 9 here. Now the last task is, if you click on edit user, then if I change here like Minas or something else, the data should get updated. And for that we have already defined this. We have already called this post data. So now let's go to here service page. If you remember, we had already created this edit user, this edit user tree, yeah, this edit user. So here we will have to pass two things. First thing will be is to take this and ID as well as the data. We need to pass this ID, so it will be data.id, because inside this data there is ID also. So we will pass this ID as well as the complete data, and the method will be put, and here it will, after editing, it will return to the list users. So let's try to edit. Okay, so undefined, that means ID is not passing here. Okay, so we can do one thing, we can pass here two parameters. Okay, this ID separately, this ID, and then this complete form, and here as well we need to modify this. So this will be the ID number, and then so simply we pass here ID, that is this. that's it. We are passing this ID separately. So for data, that means API requires ID as well as this complete data. Okay. Now let's go to here and try to edit. Mina, uh, right, like this. Let's check the phone number and name Jerry. Now update. Yes, you can see the data is successfully updated. So guys, all our functionalities like adding new user from here, add new user, add from user, you can add new user, say address, you can add new user, and from here you can delete the user. If you want to update, then you can update. If you want to update, you can see the data is getting updated. So as you can see that in the backend we have used Django REST API, and in the front end Angular. So it's really very easy to insert, update, delete, or perform CRUD operation uh, successfully. So hope you like this video, and thank you for watching. Still you have not subscribed my channel, then please subscribe and press the bell button so that if I upload such a useful video, you will get notification and you can get benefit. So thanks for watching. Bye bye.